Hey everybody, welcome to She's Smart. I'm your host, Maria Robotham. On today's episode, I'm thrilled to sit down with Julie Mountain and Dana Noorily, the dynamic duo behind the Granola Bar, a beloved cafe that started in Westport, Connecticut, and has since grown into a local sensation. These two friends turned business partners share the incredible story of how a chance meeting at a kid's birthday party sparked a journey that's taken them from bags of granola to running multiple successful locations. In this episode, we dive into their backgrounds in music and finance, the trials and triumphs of building a business while raising kids, and the realities of navigating the blurred lines between friendship and partnership. Julie and Dana open up about their creative process, the heart behind their menu, and even some unexpected viral moments. This episode is packed with laughter, honesty, and heartfelt wisdom. So get cozy as we connect, learn, and laugh together on She's Smart. First and foremost, thank you for being on the podcast.
And for being on time.
And for being the most on time.
Yeah, thank you.
By the way, I'm on time all the time, and I really appreciate that. You met in 2010 and then opened your first granola bar in Westport in 2013.
11 years ago this past weekend.
So exciting. How did it happen? You met and created this idea. How did that come to fruition for you guys?
It's sister wifey.
Yeah.
Like you.
Do you want to start?
We both had careers in the city. We had both separately moved to Westport. It's a very universal story. When you move to Westport, how'd you get here?
Yeah.
When we met, we both had mutual friends that said, oh, you're both going to be at this party for kids. It was a 3-year-old birthday party. Mutual friends had said, you have to meet Dana. She's so nice. And then they said,
you have to meet Julie. She's hysterical.
I mean, I'm also nice.
Like,
she's also funny, right?
Exactly.
So we met because our children actually sat next to each other.
Yeah, it was random.
Which is so random for the pizza section of the party.
We've never discussed what if they never sat next to each other.
What if they had sat next to someone else? I would have chosen that.
That would have been a very different story.
been doing something else.
We will answer your question. We promise. Yeah. Her Logan and my Alex were 3 years old. They are now graduating high school this year. And we're waiting on college. So we are a little bit brittle now.
This is a good distraction.
So the girls are sitting next to each other and we strike up a conversation and realize, oh, you're the person I was supposed to meet. When I reflected on meeting Dana, I was like, oh my gosh. At the time, my reaction was, she's everything I'm not. She had all of these friends.
Big head start.
She's nicer.
And an older child.
Yeah. But I had this visceral gut reaction that this was someone I wanted to work with.
Oh, she did not want to be friends with.
No, I still don't.
She's doing my part.
I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old at home. Dana had a 5-year-old and 3-year-old twins. And we had both stopped working. So I think when I met her, I was like, oh, wait, this is somebody I could do something with. So all of these wackadoo ideas in my head, let me try them out on Dana.
Yeah, I say it as a joke, but it's actually true. It's low-hanging fruit. I had a career, as Julie had, a lot of stimulation. It was so much work. It was hard to manage both worlds. My kids were babies. I was fortunate enough to have my mother and father-in-law helping out with the kids. It wasn't like I was trusting somebody outside my family. I was very fortunate in that regard. We made a lifestyle decision to move to the suburbs. I left my job. It hit me pretty hard. You know, it's like the grass is always greener. And then when I was looking at my days, my weeks, my months, I was like, oh boy, this may not have been the right decision for me. So I was relieved to not have to do the juggle. So when I met Julie, I was in fact low-hanging fruit, but it was true that I was seeking something.
What did you do beforehand?
I was in the music business since I was 18. I did concerts at Irving Plaza. I ran Irving Plaza from 1994 till I graduated. I was at NYU at the time and also running Irving Plaza. I was always very happy being exceptionally busy. I went on to work at Atlantic Records for a little while.
She would actually get excused from her classes at NYU and be like, she'd say to her professor, but I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing at work.
And then I went on to consult in the music business as I was thinking through, like, how am I going to juggle getting married, having children? How am I going to juggle a career? I was pretty young thinking about that, but I was like 30 and I was like, okay, I think I'm going to marry this guy. I think I'm going to have kids. Maybe I should shift. And actually when 9/11 happened, I looked at my boss and I said, fire me and hire me as a consultant because it was too scary to put all of my eggs into one career basket or one place. And I thought, let me start to think through how to juggle. So I did that for a little while. And then when I had my first child, even before, I stopped working completely. But I had been working since I was 17. Wow. So I thought that's what I wanted. Yeah. I was like, I can't wait for the day when I can stop working and go to Barney, have lunch, and then go to Bloomie's and have froyo and like do that life. And then I did
see how
it.
It all came back to food.
It all came back to food. It did.
Well, I'm a Jewish girl from Long Island. I'm just like fixated. Yeah. But ultimately, I guess when I met Dana and I heard the way she spoke and held herself, I knew she was in fine. She'll get to her amazing career. But I just was like, wow, this is a dynamic possibility to do something wackadoo and get my mind off of who am I? Yeah. Because it was a real crisis for me. Dana says it more eloquently. I was in depression. I've even said that to my girls. Don't make decisions when you're in a really sad, dark place. The Granola Bar is actually an experience of being in probably a pretty scared, sad place, which is amazing because the whole point of it was to be happy and bring joy. But I was really terrified about, what do I say to people at a dinner party? I don't want to talk about my kids at 8 o'clock at night. I've hired somebody to make sure they're safe and I'm going out, but like, I didn't understand my identity without work. Now, do I think that's healthy? No. Did I process that? No. Instead, I pushed into it and said to her, do you want to do something?
Yeah. That's fascinating. There's so much to unpack. I'm so excited.
Okay, good.
Dana, what did you do?
I worked in finance on the sales side. I was a sales trader. I started my career at a small British company called Schroders. We were acquired in 2000 by Solomon Smith Barney. And then I went through the Citigroup merger. It was a great career. I did really enjoy it. I loved it before I had kids. Once I had kids, it became a struggle. There was a lot of travel. There was a lot of evening stuff. I was up early. I traded international hours. So I get calls, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And then you'd go out. And again, there was just a lot of moving.
Twins.
I had twins. It coincided with the financial crisis in 2008. My twins were born in 07, 08. The financial crisis hit. And it just seemed like a really good off-ramp at that point. I thought it was going to be a bumpy couple of years, which it turned out to be. The business changed a lot from the time I was in it. I still keep in contact with a lot of my former colleagues, and it's just different. Yeah. I romanticize what it was versus what it is today. Yeah. But I do think there were a lot of transferable skill sets.
Thank gosh.
Yes, exactly. And I remember very specifically the first weekend we opened in Westport, we were slammed. The story is Julie, there was a sign on the door, it was a soft opening. Julie's like, F that, took the sign down. And then she's like,
adrenaline junkie.
Totally. Yeah. And I walked in the kitchen and we were slammed. There was a line and so much energy. And I was like, I finally feel the same almost calmness in a weird way. It's chaotic, but I feel a calmness and a sense of relief because it reminded me of a trading desk.
It reminded me of a live concert. Yeah,
you thrive in that somewhat controlled chaos almost.
It was uncontrollable
at that moment. I was running back door to go to Trader Joe's to get yogurt.
We've realized probably a year or so into our business relationship that we were so similar. People still meet us and they're like, no, you guys are like opposite. But at the core of who we were and what we were seeking, clearly we both had something that we were missing and we were fulfilling for each other. At the core, it wasn't about what we were doing. It was that we were doing it together. Yeah. Because what I didn't want, and it was so clear to me when I met Dana, was to do something alone. Being alone, or more alone than I felt, was not appealing. Yeah. So whatever we were going to do, whether it was sell yoga mats, which probably would have been way more profitable. No, I'm kidding.
Performers.
Correct. Yes.
Very profitable.
My point is, like, whatever we would have done, I think we would have probably crushed. Yeah. Because at the time, it just felt like very magical to be together and laugh and distract ourselves and then show up again as parents, which was a whole other story,
Yeah.
which you know to unpack. But
I feel like, I think you had mentioned it on an interview that, and I wholeheartedly agree with this, there's no balance when you have kids in a career.
None.
Forget it. This whole lean in
I don't
shit
like
is such
it.
bullshit.
It is
like,
bullshit.
This is not what we do. Something gives. Someone misses you. Something doesn't get done on the other side. And that is just what it is.
Yeah.
You give 100% of your
100%.
time when you're with the people in that moment.
or not
Or
even.
you don't.
Or
You're,
you don't.
you're half in, you're half out, you're on your phone, your
So,
kids are there.
But you do bring up a really good point that the balance may not occur for us internally, but it has occurred, I think, for us at home.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but for sure we have partners that see where we are and react to that. Yeah. They don't live in these myopic, selfish places where they say, but what about me? I don't think we've experienced that. And that's
Supportive.
extraordinary.
And supportive from
day one.
Yeah.
And I think for us, it would have been impossible if we came home and someone said, well, whatever that experience would be, I think we both knew we had the freedom to push ourselves to breaking because home wasn't going to break.
We've set a really solid example for our kids. They admire what we're doing. They're proud of us. They thrive off the fact that we have done this. I think it will be a legacy to them in many years to come.
What you do reflects and the kids see it. Totally agree with you on
I
that.
think even if their choice is to be a stay-at-home mom, do that the best you can.
Yeah.
Do what you do to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
I talk to my girls a lot about, like, what have you seen? Like, what do you feel when you see? They see the struggle.
Yeah.
They really do see when we get home. It's not cute.
Yeah, they're more perceptive now. When they were younger, it was a little bit different, but now that they're older and they're so aware, they know.
And these kids are aware.
My daughter's like, I don't want to own a restaurant. I thought I did. But mom, it's struggling. It's full of struggles.
So you started with making oats. I love that in your bio it says that you wanted to make granola that was crunchy but not hippie. And I wholeheartedly appreciate that because I grew up next to Berkeley, California. So you started with
forgot
that.
we wrote that.
You
Yeah.
did.
I'm like, oh,
Well, somebody else wrote
somebody
that.
else
We approved
They were
it.
very smart. So you started with the granola. Where were you selling it?
Double L was
Get
our
out.
first
That was our first
customer.
account. Yeah.
Get out.
Well, Heath Lloyd, now famous for the Martha documentary.
I have to watch that stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
you have to. Iconic.
Amazing.
But I went into Double L when we knew we had like a product in a mason jar, and I was like, I'd like to sell you granola. I was a customer there, and he was like, great. How much is it? How many are in a case? And what's it called? I left almost in tears, and I called Dana. I was like, what's it called? What's a case? She's like, let me Google.
Thank God for the Google.
Yeah, there's 9.
Imagine if we had ChatGPT, it would have been
We would
named
have
something
been.
else.
We would have been something totally different.
Yeah, totally.
So Lloyd, Double L was our first customer on the wholesale side, and then we knocked on Whole Foods door.
Whole Foods was number 2.
Yeah.
Get out in Westport.
Yes.
That's insane.
And it was really popular. And also, they started hyper local. We were in the region of Darien, Greenwich, Westport, and Fairfield.
All the places we know
All the
of
places.
restaurants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It got noticed, the sales number, and they picked it up in New York.
Tribeca.
That was my old Whole Foods when
Okay.
I lived in the city.
yeah.
I used to walk with Easton down there
Yeah.
all the time, swimming and then Whole Foods.
There you go.
It was the life. Hey, that's amazing. I didn't know about that you were in all these places.
I think we were in like
54, 52?
Yeah. And then we got picked up. Stu Leonard's was our big moment of when we realized that we had a business and the capacity.
Their orders were much larger than Whole Foods,
Yeah.
and the sampling hours and standing there with the 6-foot duck, the guy in a
cow.
costume,
And the cow.
and the cow moo,
The
and
sounds.
the
Whoa.
sounds, and Stu
Nightmares.
Leonard's, a lot of stim.
I still have a little.
Yeah, Stu from the Stu Leonard's. Yeah, we were
Tough-
so young.
tough
We were
to go in
babies.
there.
We found ourselves in 80 to 90 stores and making no money. Not losing money, just
Break even, but break even's pretty good in that
Yeah.
business. But we were doing the math, and 0 times 0 is still 0.
Yeah.
Everyone kept telling us this supermarket or this chain, and we were spending a lot of time trying to do that. We used to go into the city and drop off samples of granola all the time. We dropped off a bag of granola there was this fresh yogurt store outside of Grand Central called the Yogurt Culture Company. What year was this?
13.
Yeah.
No,
12.
11,
Or
12.
We dropped off a bag
Yeah.
of granola, and then a few days later, we received an email from this guy, Will. The email was, the
Will
the-
at Dannon.com.
So we're like, Dannon, that's so weird. How did Dan get to us? And it turns out that Dannon Yogurt owned this. It was like a concept store from them, and they were trying it out. And it was like fresh Greek yogurt, fruit, and granola. He loved our granolas, so we started collaborating with him, going into the city, and we did some marketing events. He kind of took us under his wing and became a mentor. And so we were sharing with him the fact that we weren't making any money and we wanted to do something. And so it was his suggestion that we open a kitchen in our hometown and have a small front of house. Very famous
What's
line.
a front of house?
What's a front of house?
Do you know what a front of house is? You probably do.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law was an executive chef. That's the only reason I know
front of
this.
house.
Yes, I did not work in restaurants. I worked in retail. I was not a restaurant.
He said you can flip the financials. You can start to make some money. He sent us a P&L. It's the first P&L I'd ever seen. I was like, what's this? It looked actually terrifying when we first looked at it, but it made a lot of sense. If we do this and do this, we can cut out the contract manufacturer we were using for our granola. We could make that money back. We'd have to hire people, but then this front of house gave us an opportunity to sit in my kitchen in Westport as we were 36 at the time with young kids, come up with a dream menu. We were just playing. We were playing fun. We were just playing. It felt like we were playing shop, honestly.
The marketplace, 13 years ago, you look up and down the post road, didn't look the way it does
It was
today.
Arby's, Organic Market,
Yeah.
Subway.
But that was it, really. There were a lot of evening restaurants.
Yeah, a
but
lot of dinner.
There was none of the other different brands that are out there now. None of the brands from the city. It was just really kind of like a mom and pop type of situation. So when we sat down, there was a very large white space.
For us, we were like, okay, we know we can go to the diner and feed our whole family, but I end up eating a lot of fries. I end up like, let me just take one. And I was like, how do we... And at the time, too, we were doing a blueprint cleanse. It was February. And we were literally like, we're going to look so good when we're done. We were like, oh my God. But I was like, where can we eat? Where on Monday, you can be a lunatic about what you're eating, but by Friday, you're kind of into the bacon, egg, and cheese again. Or that nobody's judging, right? We had seen other places that were singular focused, like vegan or super healthy.
Or just grilled cheese.
Yeah. And we were like, that doesn't really appeal to us either. I don't really want to go in there and feel the judgment of wanting a cheesy buff chicken. I just want to eat the way I want to eat and not have a sense of like, oh, well, that place doesn't carry that. It has to be quinoa and beans. We just started to brainstorm about what does your daughter want? What does your son want? What does my husband want? Any dude I've ever met wants a chicken bacon cheddar. And we were like, It's the 203, chicken bacon cheddar. We need a chicken bacon cheddar. So we just played and wrote a menu. And people thought we were crazy.
Did they really? Because one of my questions was the menu. How did they come up with the actual menu? Because you make meals for a big dinner. And you're like, oh, I'm going to do this, and this. But you created something that, like you said, you can walk in with 4 different types of friends, and any one of you can get something you want. You can also just have a coffee if it's just a moment where you're just going to have that. The space you created is really unique in that because I can sit down with anyone and do that.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, go.
We were not restaurateurs. We were customers. So we still.
It was like a wish list.
Like if you're online shopping, but you're literally putting like all the shit, can I say shit?
Yes, you can. You can.
All the shit you can't afford into a cart. You're like, wait, I just want that outfit, but I literally don't want to drop $4,000. Yeah. For us, we were like, wait, I want a chicken. I want a turkey. I want this. It was the dream menu for us. And then Dana said to me, we should really do yogurt parfaits. And I was like, talk to me about what you mean. She's like, like faye and fruit and our granola. So we wanted the granola to be a hero. And I looked at her, I was like, you crazy.
I heard someone saying there's no way they're spending X amount of dollars on
I know
yogurt.
who that was.
Yeah,
she just came in the other day.
Yeah.
She's still a customer.
She's still eating the yogurt parfait.
You know who you are. I said to Dina, why would people want that when they can go to Stop and Shop and do it themselves? The truth is the way we did it made it craveable and delicious. The only answer we have for you is that we are you, right? Yeah. We are our customer. When we disconnect from the customer is when things go wrong.
I want to know about that too. My absolute favorite treat on your menu is the afternoon delight.
Oh,
thank you.
You're going to say crunchy
It's what I get whenever I'm like, I need this. I will go down and get one, and I'll get a cappuccino. I've also tried many of the drinks. I've tried the cortado. I've tried the Turkish coffee. My mother, who lives in California, when she comes to visit, the first thing she asks for is the afternoon delight.
Oh, that's
She's
so
like,
sweet.
Maria, are we going to that granola place of getting the yogurt? I'm like, yes,
That's
yes, we
awesome.
are. We'll go pick one up for you.
The afternoon delight happens to be a very historic thing for me personally. Every Saturday, my mom, my bubby, my grandmother, and I would drive to Garden City and go to Bonwit Teller or Lord and Taylor. We would shop every weekend. Garden City, Long Island, and there was a place called the Birdcage on Long Island. They would have something called the yogurt special. It was plain tart froyo. It was banana. But to me, that was the afternoon delight. And it's very historic for me. It was very comforting for me.
It's comforting to eat that.
Yeah. We realized that food's very emotional for both of us.
Oh, yeah.
Very generational. It's how our families express themselves and how we would go to grandma's house on the weekends. She'd have 7 proteins for 5 people.
Everything was equitable.
How did you create the environment that is the Granola Bar Westport? You walk into the Westport one and it's welcoming. People say my name. How did that come about?
Yes, we desired that. I think when we met at the time in our lives and we knew we were going to buy ourselves some really expensive jobs, we wanted the environment to be opposite from what we had experienced.
People were shocked, even our friends who knew that we were doing this. When we first opened and they walked in, they were expecting, like white subway tile. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but something a little bit more sterile versus what we built.
Yeah.
And that was very intentional.
We wanted to make it an extension of the Westport home.
When it looks like that, you've got all the pockets
The
are
Lily and August
like
accessories
done
in 2013.
There was a truck that came.
We couldn't afford that build today, but we wanted it to be an extension of your home. We weren't ready yet to call it a restaurant. For years, it was about being a happy place that Dana and I would greet our friends. They'd enjoy our menu.
them.
It would be fun, and we'd make our money through the distribution of granola that we were baking in the back. That was the intention.
Yeah,
we knew we could pay rent.
We had a business, right? We already had the retail customer or the wholesale business and we were selling to the stores. And so we figured, okay, anything outside of that will be our profit.
I want to talk about your people because you have, I think, pretty incredible people who work for you.
First of all, volumes help.
And what does that mean?
What I mean is the lifestyle, the lifestyle that we offer, right? So we're open from 7 to 4 for the most part, is very appealing. And because of the volumes that we're doing at each store, people are able to make a living here. So it's not really as much like a, please work for us, like it'll be great, I promise. That was our first, the Westport store for sure, and that created the energy
Our
of
kitchen
it.
manager has been with us since the day we opened. She's still with us today.
Like,
Family.
but I went to the Dunkin' Donuts on Maple. I said to her, she was at the POS, and I was like, I'm opening a cafe. I don't know what I'm doing. Do you know anybody who would work in a kitchen?
She's like,
I'll do it. So she's still there.
Pick me.
And I will say for the most part, we've just had a bit of turmoil in our Westport location, which people have noted. And that was not our choosing. That was just stuff happens, right? Yeah. For the most part, our GMs have been with us 5, 6, 8, 10 years.
We have our GM in Fairfield has been with us 10 years.
The way Dana and I run a business is unique. The way that we've built it from 1, 2, and 3 and slowly and saying, look, we make errors. We fail forward. Be vulnerable is okay. We're very human, probably too human. It's hurt us. It's been a negative as much as it's been a positive. But for the people that work with us, I think it's a fun, good environment, and they're able to make a living and support themselves and their family.
Because you have to deal with the increase of cost of living here. I mean, if they're able to stay that long, you've obviously been doing a good job managing that so that they feel comfortable to stay.
A lot of service-oriented jobs, their wages come from tips. To your point of people recognizing and acknowledging you, that may prompt you to tip generously every time. Their efforts, they know that there's a reward based on their efforts. I definitely believe that the lifestyle is the key driver in terms of retaining people because it can be a tough business. You're working, at a bar till midnight, 1 a.m., or, you just unpredictable. Some nights are busy, some nights are slow. We have the kind of business that's a little bit more predictable. So I think people really value that.
Our customers aren't wasted on alcohol. Yes, you get the aggressive pre-caffeine moments, or like Mother's Day is the scariest.
I've been there on Mother's Day.
2020 was by
Engraved
far
in
the
my
worst
brain.
day of our career, but our GMs understand that if leadership is compassionate and has some flexibility, that's changing as we get larger. For the most part, we've cultivated more of a family than a team. There are negatives and positives. Dana and I, over the last year or so, have tried to take more of the emotion out of it.
More as a team.
Yeah.
If you're on a team and you're not performing, then
get cut.
You get cut.
If you're part of a family and you're not, you don't get cut. Right?
That's right.
We
That's
tolerate made as many leadership mistakes as we have on the positive. For the most part, people have been very amazing and loving with us. All of that warmth makes us female leaders. Balance is actually something we've had to learn, and we're still learning it. I think that's our biggest. We just hired a CEO.
Congrats.
Thank you.
It's a big
That is big.
Huge. And I listen to him. He's smart too, but I listen to him and learn so much every day.
This is the job.
People thrive in that.
Yeah.
People are thriving with him.
Good.
So it's not either or. I think it's
just
very much like a real understanding of like, okay, maybe we're not the best to do X, Y, and Z as the company grows, because I don't want to maybe run the day-to-day of a company that gets more corporate or nuanced about it.
Yeah.
That's not my strength.
So now you have 8 restaurants,
Yes.
right? How are you keeping it consistent across all 8? Because I go to Westport, get my things. You go to Greenwich, you get your things. Now you're going to be in Woodbury and getting your things. How are you keeping it consistent across the board?
With our team, just hiring well, and our new CEO that Julie just referenced has brought over a couple of people that he worked with in the industry at various brands that have a lot of long-standing knowledge.
The unit experience.
And that's really what we were lacking.
I can imagine you're running it, you're creating it, and doing all of the overseeing of that had to be like astronomical.
Well, we don't have that skill set with her and our small team.
Incredible.
It's hard to process because it just happened. I mean, it didn't just happen. We did it, but it's hard to reflect and say we were able to do that, but to keep it humming, and to your point, to keep it universal, and everything's the same if you go to Westport versus Greenwich. Like, dressing tastes the same, and the size of the eggs.
True.
And it's not
always true.
It's impossible.
That's something where multi-unit experience comes into play, where it was a no-brainer for us to look at each other and go, okay, it's time to hand over the CEO reins. And that, I think that took as much discipline and power to hand it over as it did to take it in the first place. In fact, I think it took more to hand it over. And I think we also have JJ, if people know him, but JJ is our vice president of ops and our executive chef. And I think without him, it would have been very difficult before we hired Rich, our CEO. But yeah, we've had some very integral players supporting us at the store level. Dana and I, at this point, can go into a store and not know every employee. Honestly, I haven't been to the Upper West Side in a while, and I see on Instagram that there's a new employee and I don't know her. Okay. So we're definitely sitting at a different elevation than we have.
Okay.
That's been a big curve for us, but a happy curve.
So it feels good.
It feels uncomfortable, necessary.
Okay.
We never feel good. We never feel good.
Okay.
But we feel empowered and excited that other people can do this better.
I think it's really healthy, especially at this stage of our business and where we're going, to have an outside perspective.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're sitting inside of something, you see the same things, and it's what you're comfortable with.
We're like, oh, good idea. Amazing.
You're smart.
Wow.
I wish I
That
thought
was
of that.
good.
That's not possible. Like, we're at a stage now where you make a change, it's not getting changed in one place or two places. It's 8 places.
Ideas are unappealing. It's the execution, right? I can come up with 14 ideas. People are like, what about this? What about that? I'm like, you don't understand. When we have 150 employees, 8 locations, you can't just be like, oh, let's throw a special on.
Yeah.
It doesn't work
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
The things that used to empower us, or we used to be like, oh
Excited
my God,
about.
do you know what I'm in the mood
Yeah.
for today? And then
Yeah.
we'd throw it on the Westport menu and it would fly and become a new menu item. It's very, very difficult to do that now. Where's the product coming for? How much does it cost? How do we order that? Is that an extra fee?
We use that ingredient in something else.
Things that we didn't think about when we were 1 unit or 2 units.
Yeah, you have all the flexibility in the world, right? You over-ordered strawberries, so you make a special or something like
strawberry banana pancakes are coming out.
Yeah, that's kind of like a unified voice of
Yeah.
the brand, so you can't just have these one-offs. But yeah, it's a learning curve.
Do your customers differ from place to place? Like your Westport customer is different from your Greenwich customer to your Woodbury customer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the maturity of the store, it's so interesting. We opened up in Woodbury on Long Island, and the customer is seeing us for the first time. For them, it's a new
It's truly
brand.
a new market. Because when we opened in Greenwich, there were people who knew us from Westport and Stamford and Darien, and everybody's kind of running in the same circles. Even when we opened on the Upper West Side, a lot of Westchester people. But this Long Island, it takes 3 hours to get there. Literally in another country.
But it's so awesome because for the first time, we're seeing our brand
through the eyes.
in its maturity. It's not our first location, nor is it a reaction to our first location. It's a different store, and it's working really well. And it's the first opening we've ever had where we're not running the open. We're not working the open the same way. And the response is actually more encouraging because of that, because it's standing on its own.
Absolutely.
And it took a decade to do that.
Is there a dish in Westport that is the most popular thing people buy?
There's a few. That's the thing about our menu that's very difficult for people to comprehend. Like,
because we've worked with consultants and they say to us, your menu is too wide, it's too varied, and we're like, well, that's the whole point.
well, good luck. Do a
and they
key
said,
mix.
okay, let's do a product mix, and we'll cut out the bottom, and so you have your standouts like your avocado toast and your parfaits, and then everything else is
evenly
equal.
distributed.
So how do you pick?
Yeah, like,
how do you pick?
Yeah. But like the almond chicken salad is as popular as the black and salmon. So you're not losing
dropping
any
one
of those anytime soon.
No.
It's usually when we go rogue, when someone says, you need pimento cheese. Everyone's eating the same stuff, right? Our coffee went viral in Woodbury. Truly.
We have this latte. It's called the French Toast Latte, which we have in Westport and all the other locations. and there's a woman who came to the Woodbury location. Her name is Latte Laura on TikTok. And so she posted this video. And how many forwards were there?
I mean,
it was
thousands.
thousands.
Get out. That's what you were talking about on Instagram.
Yes.
The latte you were bringing
the
up.
other 7 locations, funny enough, have this drink, but they haven't talked about it. In Westport, the Turkish latte is very famous, but I don't see friends of ours going on TikTok being like, girly, you got to go get it. There's a youth in Woodbury that we're a little obsessed with, and it happened for us. The youth really picked us up in Westport, but TikTok wasn't a thing. It was Instagram, so it moved a little slower.
Yes.
Whereas Woodbury is actually suffering from like PTSD if you say French toast latte or carpal tunnel on the barista with the barista.
This past Sunday, we sold 211 lattes
From 8 to 4. Iced.
People were waiting 45 minutes for lattes.
And they weren't mad.
They weren't mad.
Knew it could
and
be
they said,
viral.
worth the wait.
And they're like, shh. The product we've had for a long time. And if we hire someone and they're like, we really need to make something that goes viral, if you don't let your customer tell you what that is, it becomes a forced marketing thing. And people don't respond like that. They do.
No, they don't.
So it's really been lovely in Woodbury how joyous people have been around the brand and around what we're doing.
Appreciative.
Very appreciative. We're probably the first restaurant in the area like us.
We know there's no balance between, we've talked about this, the balance between family and whatever. There is none. The two of you, Dana and Julie as friends, balance being business partners and also your friendship.
It's blurred.
It's
blurred.
No,
it's all one thing. Yeah.
The
mixed
best
together.
times we have, the friend times.
Julie came by with her daughter on Sunday to my house, and her daughter helped me with something on my laptop. Just sitting around the kitchen table, shooting the shit. We went away for my 50th birthday. That was fun. When we do things outside of work,
I'd say we feel better as friends. If you had to define it, we feel better because the stress of where we are personally, I don't want to get emotional. What we're doing is so impossibly hard. And I think what a lot of women do is so impossibly hard. We are very sensitive to be like, what we do is hard. Having each other, sometimes it's impossible for me because I'm a reactor, right? Dana's not. She's a processor. And so I'm always like, oh my God. You know, it's been very difficult, and I much prefer Dana as my bestie. I much prefer never talking about work.
Yeah.
I'm like talking about going to Ulta or being unhappy with our under eye concealer. This is a
Or
much
sending
more,
a link for something.
What did you buy?
It's a terrible sweater, but it's adorable. It's a 3-pack. It's always a 3-pack with you.
That's your algorithm.
Yeah.
I will tell you, we've talked so much. Our desks face each other, and they have for
I was just
10
going to
years.
say, morning when we come in, we have coffee talk. It's like when you meet your friend out for a cup of coffee. Some mornings we have to get right down to business, but
Oftentimes I'm crying.
we have time to chat and how are the kids and what happened last night? How was your night? What did you do? That kind of stuff.
We don't really chat or text too much after hours. But if we go a few days without connecting, it feels, for both of us, it feels bad. But that's the friendship.
Yeah.
That's not the business. I think both of us could go a while without if we had to.
Without talking about business.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be the dream.
Yeah.
That's not the reality. Yeah. Impress upon the point that I think, like, and I'll speak for myself, but when my kids were younger and when we first started the business, I had a lot of different friendships. Over the years, with the stress of our job and the demands, it has made it hard to maintain those types of friendships. Quite honestly, if I go out, I don't necessarily want to talk about work because it's so stressful. They don't understand. They don't run a business. I don't want to burden them. I don't think that they would understand the depth of what is going on. It's hard for me to explain it to my husband. You know, it's just, there's a lot.
That's where it gets emotional because we are on an island together alone.
Yeah.
When you started about friends, I was like, I have none. I literally find it very difficult to maintain a normal conversation with someone about their stresses that I would wish for. We asked for this. We are continuing to ask for this. This is not a woe is me. It's just that our worlds have gotten smaller and smaller. And as people have even like generations, like our grandparents are no longer, the world is just smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Our kids are leaving. We're becoming empty nesters over the next few years. So we're leaning on each other in different ways. It's very difficult to go out to dinner and just let go. And I think part of that is because I'm stone cold sober most of the time, truth be told. But even just going out at night and getting up again and being present for the whole day, doing my Dyson Airwrap for you.
Yes,
like,
beautiful.
Thank you. But it's
for
like,
the radio.
I have a face for radio.
Same, Cheryl, same.
It's a real pleasure.
But I have found as I get older, my circle gets smaller. And I think that has to do with life and the people you put in it as you get older are quality people. And you spend time with those people because that's the time you have, limited time. So you're choosing those people for a reason and they're choosing you for a reason. I understand that. I respect
we get
that.
Home, it's enough to be present for our kids who, as they get older, need more.
Yes. Wait, let's
Sorry,
talk
girls, I
about
love
that
you
for a
so
second
much.
because my kids are younger than yours. I have 10 and 12.
Yeah.
And I have found that as they got older, they needed me more.
Yes. Yeah,
So like my 12-year-old, he's going through all these different phases of life. He's getting older. He needs me more emotionally and in different ways.
Right. It's less physical, more emotional.
And they have more accessibility to us than we did to our parents, right? There's the phone and the text. I didn't have cell phone, didn't have anything. I didn't talk to my parents until I saw them at dinner time. So just think about the access
Right. The
that they
sunset,
have.
you knew you should probably head home.
Yeah.
It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
Exactly. Could you
By
imagine
the way,
that?
could you imagine
at 10
now?
o'clock.
I know
I was just gonna
exactly
say.
where my kids are.
I know where they
Just
are
go
every
on
minute
Find
of
My.
every day.
I even know when my stepson has a hard stop on his car on Life 360.
yes.
I was like, you mean 7 hard stops today? It's like, okay, that's getting a little much.
Wait till your kids start driving the risky drive.
Risky drive.
Risky
hard
drive.
stop. I was like, this is too much
this is-
for me. I guess the thought is more like, they need us. They do. They need us more. And I think the world is harder for them too. And I think
Yeah,
it's
they can't make
harder.
mistakes anymore. Everyone
Yeah.
notices it's put
There's a
on
lot of
social
anxiety.
media. So much
there's a lot of-
anxiety.
It's no good for them either. So when we get home, going back to like the fretting and where you prioritize that, like it's a pretty low priority for me. I'm sorry to the people that love me and care about me. There's very few, but the point is small and mighty is way more important because when I get home, I really want to be there for my husband, my children, because I'll look at the week and know we're out of there for a few nights or not around, or they just need me, and I don't want to regret. I don't want to look back at an empty house and go, you know what, that was stupid. And that's where the balance becomes a bit more of a punch to the chest.
I value the people that don't require the constant. I have maintained relationships with people that I might not speak to for 10 days, 2 weeks, once a month. We pick up right where we left off, check in. Hey, haven't heard from you. Just making sure everything's okay. Those are the relationships that I have been able to happily maintain, but there's not as much FaceTime.
I think as we get older, that's okay. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
You're all doing your thing. You're proud of your friends for doing their thing. The check-in is important. But as we get older and we're more secure in who we are and what we're doing, it's okay to not get that validation from someone else anymore.
That's what it is.
I was a new mom. I wanted validation from everyone.
Yeah.
I also am a people pleaser and I need everyone to like me. That is just my personality. And as of, I don't know, the last couple of years, I'm like, I'm good. You don't have to like me. I'm not going to be unkind. I'm always going to be nice to everyone, but we're good. It's okay. I'm okay with myself now. It took a long time to get there and build that. As you get older, I think that we just end up doing that.
Well, I keep repeating it. I'll be 50 in March, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's never been me. When I complain about somebody or don't feel their validation, it's never been about me. My point is, when it's that frivolous person that you don't necessarily, and I'm like, why are they doing? It's not about you, right?
Yeah.
It's that same with me. Like someone will, I have a hilarious story with a woman in town who thought I was the coldest, meanest girly on the Long Lots pickup line. She jokes with me. She walked up to me at the Long Lots pickup one day because I was grouchy, and she's like, "Why are you such a bitch?" I was like, oh my God.
She's a regular, by the way.
But she's also someone I actually genuinely love now. She saw in me my resting phase, the place where I was. Elementary school years were not fun for me. And that was who I really was. And it took her to be like, why are you such a bitch? And I was like, okay, that is me, right? That is me putting out to the world, don't talk to me.
That's your exterior.
And now, to this day, she calls me out. It's been a decade, but she won't let it go. But yeah, I get that I can put that out because I'm not available.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think I am.
I always ask the same 3 questions at the end of the podcast to my guests. So you can both answer them or you can pick and choose, whatever you want to do. Okay. So the first one is, what have you changed your mind about recently?
I've changed my mind about what self-care means.
Okay. Can you go deeper?
Self-care to me means being authentic with myself, being honest with myself. Not about yoga or
nails.
That is not self-care for me. But self-care for me is being honest with where I am.
I love that. Okay.
Mine's nails.
I've changed my nails a lot.
Started getting my nails done, which is funny. Although they're chipping. I was just going to say the valuation about our career and what is needed. We had this conversation with Julie's daughter on Sunday. Not about being successful, unsuccessful. We've poured our heart and soul into this for the last 12 years. And everyone's like, one day you're going to sell for X amount of dollars and you have all this money. I don't really want that. I want peace. That's what I've changed my mind about. There was a goal and the number, and I would joke with Julie all the time, like, at this point, there is no number, right? Yeah. Every chip is in the table, both emotionally, physically, every aspect of my life I am my business.
Yeah.
We are our
business. The Granola girls.
Right. That's who we are. So it doesn't have to do with a number. It has to do with peace for me personally.
So it's so good.
Unfortunately, now we're going to manifest a tiny number.
There's only abundance in this room. Abundance flows. Abundance flows from this special space. I love it. What is the most unexpected item on your bucket list?
Taking an RV around the country with my husband.
I love that. Okay.
I don't know if that goes with my Ghani.
But you can wear the Ghani while you're going. Walk the Celine in the Ghani. Why not? I love it. Stod. I love that.
I think that's unexpected when people meet me, that I'm like, I'd probably be more comfortable in an RV. Yeah. Maybe.
What an adventure.
Yeah.
What about you?
I don't have something specific. I'd like to travel with my family. There's not a specific place.
Yeah.
When we're all still available before their lives take off, that would be on my bucket list.
And then the last one, what is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
For me, I would tell my younger self, well, of course you felt this way because of your raising, right? But you've always been beautiful. You know, and it was okay to look how you looked through the whole process. It made you who you are. Yeah. I'll throw on Instagram a picture of myself at my peak of what was awkward. It spoke to the rest of my life instead of being a moment in time.
Yeah.
Even though my mother always said to me, you don't want to peak at 14, I didn't ever hold my body dear.
Yeah.
And own it. I would probably want to take that back for my younger self.
Absolutely.
You know, kind of, okay.
Love that.
I'm just getting there now where I'm like, okay, she's good. Yeah. Okay,
right?
She's cute. My girls come out now and they're like, body tea. Yeah. And it is what it is. I am who I am for a reason. It's all there for a reason.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I don't want to get it for a reason.
It's all there
and you
for a
got to
reason.
embrace it.
Yeah.
That's mine.
That's so good. I love that.
Okay.
Mine's probably a little bit more cliche, reflecting on the last 20 years of my life. Since becoming a parent, I don't think I really enjoyed when my kids were younger as much as I should have. I have a lot of memories, but I wonder if I wasn't present, or I'm always reflective of that. I wish that I was a little bit more in tune and could remember all the different stages a little clearer.
Right, and we meet young moms where we're like those 50-year-old women who are like, hold on to
Yeah,
it,
yeah, you're
girlies,
like,
and they're like,
it goes
whatever.
so fast.
You
Want
want
to
to
rush
be
through
done.
it. I think a lot of people are guilty of that, but I just wish that I could have a do-over.
Yeah, I fully relate to that. There are years when I'm like, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
It's like a blackout.
Hilarious. I had a friend who said she wishes she could go back and spend a day for each year with her kids and remember when they were 5, 6, 7. She kind of planted that in my head, and I was like, oh yeah, that would be awesome. Because you remember middle school or elementary school, but not really the day-to-day. I wish I could really taste that a little bit.
The days are long, the years are short. It's very true.
This was the best.
Oh, thank you.
I wish
It
we
was
had
lovely.
more hours and equipment that didn't fit.
No, that's
This is perfect.
real.
This is the
okay.
reality of
It's real.
podcasting. Oh my God, thank you.
Thank you.
This was awesome.
You were great.
This was
You were
awesome.
great.
Thank you so much for joining me today on She's Smart. New episodes drop every Thursday. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Stay cozy.